Good morning, dear students. Myself Sachin S. Pawar, Head of Department of Chemistry, GSS University College, Belgaum, and I welcome you to my first video on Unit 3 Electrochemistry for Class 12 students. In present lecture, we'll discuss importance of electrochemistry and some important terms used in electrochemistry. So, let's begin with importance of electrochemistry. The first application of electrochemistry is in industries where there is a production of metals. Metals such as sodium, magnesium, calcium, aluminium, etc. are manufactured or produced using some of the concepts of electrochemistry. Here I have given an example of production of sodium metal using sodium chloride in Dow's cell. It is not there in syllabus, but still for understanding I have taken this example. Here if you just concentrate on the reaction side, you will see at the carbon anode, at the bottom you can see at the carbon anode, Cl minus ion undergoes oxidation to form chlorine, and Na plus ion undergoes reduction to form sodium in liquid state. This is an example of electrolysis, one of the concept used in electrochemistry, which we'll learn in the coming lectures. This example I have taken to revise one of the concept from PUC first year, topic redox reaction. I am here trying to recall three concepts: oxidation, reduction and redox reaction. Please recall, oxidation means loss of electron, and in the present example you see two Cl minus ions lose two electrons to form one chlorine molecule. So this is loss of electron by chloride ion, and it is an oxidation reaction. And reduction means gain of electrons, and in this present case two Na plus ions gain two electrons to form two Na atoms. A reduction of Na plus ion to Na atom. A redox reaction is the reaction in which both reduction and oxidation reaction take place simultaneously, and as you can see here, that happens. Therefore this is an example of redox reaction. In present case you see Na plus ion is gaining electron, and the one which gains electron in redox reaction is called oxidizing agent, and Cl minus ion is losing electrons, and the one which loses electron is a reducing agent. So Cl minus ion is a reducing agent. Further, since Na plus has gained electrons, it is said to be reduced, while Cl minus ion has lost electron, therefore it is said to be oxidized in the reaction. With this revision of oxidation reduction, we'll come back to importance of electrochemistry, and as you can see on your screen, the first two applications. Electrochemistry is used in the production of metals such as sodium, magnesium, calcium, aluminium. It is also used in the production of compounds such as sodium hydroxide, chlorine, fluorine, and so on. Application number 3. Electrochemistry has an application in working of various kinds of batteries which we use. We use pen cells, button cells, the batteries which are used in our two-wheelers, four-wheelers, and fuel cells which are basically used in rockets. All they work in a principle of electrochemistry, and working of all such batteries we are going to learn in this topic. Next, corrosion is one of the phenomenon we observe around us. An iron chain, if it is kept in open air for a longer time, it acquires brown coating, and that brown coating peels off. This is corrosion or rusting, and the process of rusting is again an electrochemical phenomenon, and how to prevent that rusting can be understood if we learn what exactly is happening during rusting, and that is also we are going to learn in this topic. Next, we should also know that electrochemistry has application in a working of our body. For example, the transmission of signals from cells to brain, and the communication between the cells, it takes place via mechanism, and that mechanism follows electrochemistry. So we have seen importance of electrochemistry. Now we'll move our attention to terms used in electrochemistry. Some of the terms used in electrochemistry you can see on your screen. Out of these, the first four, the quantity of electricity, strength of current, resistance, and potential difference, you are learning in physics also. Let us see them one by one. quantity of electricity. As you know from physics, the formula for finding the quantity of electricity is Q is equal to I into T, and it is measured either in terms of coulombs, whose symbol is capital C, or Faraday, whose symbol is capital F. In the formula, Q stands for quantity of electricity, I is current, and T is the time interval for which the current is passed. Here 1 farad of electricity is the charge of 1 mole of electron, and from PUC first year we know 1 mole corresponds to Avogadro number of particles, and therefore 1 Faraday is the charge of Avogadro number of electrons. And since we know the charge of 1 electron as 1.60 into 2 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulombs, thus if we multiply that to Avogadro's number, we will get the value of 1 Faraday of electricity, and on further simplification the value comes out to be 9.6475 into 10 to the power 4. Thus, reducing this value of 9.6475 into 10 to the power 4 to 3 significant figures, we get it as 9.65 into 10 to the power 4, and that is 1 Faraday of electricity comes out to be 96,500 coulombs. In this topic we are going to use these three terms: the formula quantity of electricity as Q is equal to I into T, and the Faraday, that is 1 Faraday is equal to charge of 1 mole of electron, and 1 Faraday is equal to 96,500 coulombs. Next, strength of current. And as we know, the strength of current is measured in terms of ampere. From the same previous formula, Q is equal to I into T, we can write ampere as Q upon T, that is number of coulombs passed upon time in seconds, and thus 1 ampere current is the amount of current when 1 coulomb of electricity flows through the conductor for 1 second. The third point is resistance, and as the name suggests, resistance means opposition to the flow of current, and as we know from physics, the unit of measuring resistance is ohm, and it is potential difference upon the current in amperes. Here, using the formula, if I have to find out 1 ohm of resistance, it is equal to the amount of resistance offered by the conductor which allowed to pass 1 ampere current to flow through it when applied potential is 1 volt. With this brief required idea of the first 4 terms borrowed from physics, we will now learn the remaining terms in detail, and in that the first term to be learnt is electrolytes and non-electrolytes. Here let us compare. Electrolytes on the left hand side are those substances which conduct electricity either in fused or in aqueous state. Fused means molten state, and non-electrolytes are those which do not conduct electricity. Next, ionic compounds, examples acids, bases, salts are the examples of electrolytes, while covalent compounds such as urea, cane sugar, glucose, etc. are the examples of non-electrolytes. Just consider one example each of electrolyte and non-electrolyte. Say sodium chloride for electrolytes and C6H12O6 glucose for non-electrolytes. Here, if sodium chloride is taken in solid form, we have perfectly packed arrangement of Na plus and Cl minus ions, as that we have learnt in solids. The moment this sodium chloride is allowed to melt, or sodium chloride is put into the water to form aqueous solution, the sodium and chloride ions which are packed in solid state, they split up, and they split up to form Na plus and Cl minus ions, and because of the space available in the molten or aqueous state, they start moving freely. While if you take non-electrolytes, say for example glucose C6H12O6, you keep that in solid state or melt it or put it in the water to dissolve, the formula remains the same as C6H12O6. Thus, in fused or aqueous solution, the electrolytes contain free ions, while in fused or aqueous solution, the non-electrolytes contain free molecules. just we have learnt sodium chloride in fused or aqueous state should ionize to form Na plus and Cl minus ions. That is the job of electrolyte. This fused or aqueous state of sodium chloride, if I pass electricity, you will see that the Na plus ions will move towards the cathode and gets discharged as sodium atom, and Cl minus ion moves towards the anode and gets discharged as chlorine gas. Thus, in general, when electricity is passed through the fused or aqueous state of electrolyte, it deposits discharging elements. As we have seen in the example, sodium and chlorine are discharging elements. However, any kind of a chemical reaction doesn't occur when you pass electricity through the non-electrolytes. Next, we shall learn strong and weak electrolytes. Please note here, electrolytes in aqueous or in fused state ionize into their respective ions. The examples are on your screen. Here, I have taken one example of strong electrolyte and one example for weak electrolyte. A strong electrolyte taken is hydrogen chloride, and as you see, when it is put in the water or in the fused state, it will ionize into H plus and Cl minus ions. And here you see no reverse reaction is possible. While if you take a weak electrolyte, say acetic acid, if you put it in the water or fuse it, it will ionize into CH3COO minus, that is acetate ions, and H plus ions. However, here you see the acetate ion and H plus ions have a ability to combine together to give back acetic acid. So for weak electrolyte, the ionization is reversible. As you can see, the forward direction arrow and the backward direction arrow. Such backward reaction is not occurring in strong electrolytes, as you can see for HCl. And as the ionization suggests, in strong electrolyte solution we have more number of ions due to complete ionization, while in weak electrolytes we have less number of ions due to partial ionization. And since ions are responsible for carrying the current in both the cases, we have to admit strong electrolytes should give strongly conducting solution, while weak electrolyte should give poorly conducting solution. Examples: all strong acids, strong alkalis and salts are strong electrolytes. Examples you can see on the screen, while all weak acids and weak bases are weak electrolytes. The examples are on your screen. True and potential electrolytes. True electrolytes are those which consist of ions in its purest form, and when they are dissolved in water they give ions. However, potential electrolytes, on the right hand side you can see there are no ions in the purest form, but they are highly polar compounds. However, if you put them in the water, they dissociate to give free ions. Like for example, if you take an example of true electrolyte as sodium chloride, the pure form of sodium chloride is solid sodium chloride, and you know in solid sodium chloride the Na plus and Cl minus ions are existing. So the in purest state also we have ions. Whereas if you take an example of potential electrolyte, say HCl, in purest form HCl is a gas, and in the purest form there are no charges on H and Cl. However, the moment you put in the water, it will ionize into H plus and Cl minus ions. Next, electrolytic and electronic conductors. In the topic solid states we have learned this, and we know ions are responsible for carrying the current in electrolytic conductors, while electrons are responsible for carrying the current in electronic or metallic conductors. In electrolytic conductors, when the conduction of electricity is taking place, there are some chemical reactions are occurring at the respective electrodes, and the phenomenon is called as electrolysis, that we shall learn in the subsequent lectures. However, in electronic or metallic conductors, the kernels are stationary. Only electrons are moving from one kernel to other kernels, and therefore there is no change in the chemical property of the conductor when the electricity is passed. Effect of temperature changes on conductivity. Here for electrolytic conductors, if you increase temperature, it is going to supply more energy to the ions available in the solution, and as a result those ions will move more faster towards the respective electrodes, and in doing so they will carry the current faster, and that's why there is decrease in the resistance and increase in the conductance. However, for electronic or metallic conductors, when the temperature is increased, the positive kernels, as we have learnt in our solid state, also gain more energy and they start vibrating, and in their vibration electrons cannot move from one kernel to other kernel, and since electrons are responsible for carrying the current, there is hurdle in the conduction of electricity, and that will increase the resistance to the flow of current or decrease the conductivity of the electrolyte. Now let us see the factors affecting the conductivity of both these two conductors. For electrolytic conductors, nature of the electrolyte is very important. As we know, electrolytes can be a strong electrolyte or a weak electrolyte. Strong electrolyte conducts better than weak electrolyte. Therefore, the nature of the electrolyte is a factor deciding the conductivity of electrolytic conductors. And in case of electronic or metallic conductors, since electrons are responsible for carrying the current, the nature and the structure of the metal which allow the movement of electron faster is the factor deciding the conductivity of this conductor. For electrolytic conductors on the left hand side, as the size of the ion increase, the mobility of the ion decreases, and hence it will decrease the conductivity. So smaller the size of the ion, greater is the conductivity of electrolytic conductors. While in electronic conductors, greater the number of valence electrons, greater will be the value of conductivity, because as the number of valence electron increase, there is more chance of those electrons going into the conduction band, and as and when the electrons come in the conduction band, it starts conducting electricity, and that we have already seen in the topic called solid states. Next, as we have discussed earlier, for electrolytic conductors, increase in temperature increase the conductivity, while for electronic conductors, decrease in temperature increase the conductivity. The reason for that we have already discussed. The detailed explanation on effect of concentration we shall see in later stage. However, at present it is just sufficient to say decrease in concentration of the electrolyte solution, that is increase in the dilution of the electrolyte solution, gives more space for the ions to move, and ions will start moving faster, and hence it should increase the conductivity. Next, in electrochemistry we are using mainly two types of cells. One is called electrolytic cell, other is called electrochemical cell. Electrolytic cell is a cell which uses electricity from the batteries and carry out spontaneous reaction in the vessel, while in electrochemical cell the electricity is generated due to spontaneous reactions happening in the cell. Next is example of electrochemical cell. Here on the left hand side, zinc rod is dipped in zinc sulfate solution, and on the right hand side, copper rod is dipped in copper sulfate solution, and externally they are connected to voltmeter. The two solutions are connected to each other by salt bridge, which consists of sodium sulfate solution. As you see, circuit is complete. The reaction take place at anode and cathode. At anode, zinc undergoes oxidation to form Zn plus 2 ions, and at cathode, copper plus 2 undergoes reduction to form copper, and as a result of these two reactions, the electron starts flowing in the outer circuit, and voltmeter shows some reading. That is as a result of chemical reaction, electricity is generated. Electrochemistry deals with only these two cells, that is electrochemical cell and electrolytic cell, and the details we shall learn in coming lectures. Thus, electrochemistry now I can define very well as a branch of chemistry which deals with study of electrochemical cell, that is production of electricity as a result of spontaneous chemical reactions, and electrolytic cell, that is use of electricity to carry out non-spontaneous chemical reactions. That's all for today's class. In the next class we shall learn details about electrolytic cell and the concepts related to it. Thank you.